the next one who wants to give me a hand, then I can't move my hands. So sad. Anyone scared to say anything on the stream or?
Nope.
Well, I thought we were already muted.
Nope.
Guess not.
Why is Udi and Riccardo not saying anything?
I was just busy retweeting.
Oh.
I have to retweet the Udi.
Oh, this is how they look like when they're tweeting.
Yes, exactly.
Is it already not link or directly to Twitter?
This is texting in VR.
You're gonna stream in the kitchen. Okay, enjoy your sushi.
Looks good. Can I grab your phone?
Eat it before it dumps.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, do you want to sit over there, Mr. Pony? Over there? Sure. Nice. Sure, this is so fancy. Yes.
What?
And you should turn on the what's it called? The amplify my voice thing.
Hello.
It's under host tools. Yeah, the middle button.
There's done. Amplified.
Good. Good. Okay, now I can mute everyone, which is really what I'm here for. Oh no.
Bye.
No. Yes. Okay, done. So, I'm Udi Wertheimer. This is Reckless VR. We had a way too long break of 3 weeks, so I'm really happy to be here again. We do these every weekend, even if it doesn't look like it, except for when we don't. So if you want to join the next ones, you can go to recklessvr.com, sign up, or join Reckless VR Telegram or Reckless_VR on Twitter, and you'll get notified of future events. Most of them have better guests than our current guest, which is Riccardo Spagni, also known as Fluffy Pony. He's the founder of Zcash. Thank you for joining us, Fluffy. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah. No, I mean, Zcash was really a great innovation in inflation speed, and other things that you innovated. So well done on that. And yeah, you can go now.
Yeah. Sorry, Zuko.
So look, the first question I have, that's the most important one, is why, like, what's the name Fluffy Pony? Where did it come from?
So many years ago, like, nearly 2 decades ago, at my first proper job, there were these two girls in, one was in sales, one was in training, and they called themselves Fluffy Puppy and Fluffy Bunny, and they gave me a nickname, and Fluffy Pony, and I tried to laugh it off. I was like, haha, that's really crazy, you guys are so silly. And they didn't let it go, and they started using it all the time. Even clients would come to the office and they'd be like, oh, just go speak to Fluffy Pony over there. And
oh, wow.
Eventually I just embraced it, and I was like, well, I'm stuck with this.
Well, I don't know, I expected something better, but okay, that's an origin story too. I appreciate. I mean, I don't know. I thought, there would be a pony. There would be something. It's just could have been any name.
No actual ponies. I'm not a brony. In fact, I think the last time I watched an episode of My Little Pony, I was like 12 years old. So.
Okay, good. Now that we got this out of the way, so why did you decide to launch Zcash?
I mean,
no. Why did you decide to launch Monero? This is also a joke because you didn't actually launch it. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't get myself to ask a single serious question today.
I can tell.
I mean, okay. When did you get into Bitcoin? Let's do that.
Cool.
That can be a
serious
serious
question from Rudy. So,
yes.
early 2011, May 2011. I read an article on Slashdot, and it was about this Google engineer who had he was writing a Bitcoin library, and that was Mike Hearn. So my intro to Bitcoin was Mike Hearn. So he rage quit years later, but thanks,
That
Mike.
actually explains a lot of things.
It explains Mike rage quitting, or it explains things about me.
Both. It explains your rage quitting. It explains, it explains why you hate Bitcoin so much, because you got it from Mike Hearn. It explains everything. Okay.
It was,
okay. No, I'm getting serious.
Okay.
I'm getting there. How did Monero start? Because you claim to have not started it. So how did Monero did start?
Okay. Monero origin story.
Yes.
So a bunch of scammers launched this thing called Bitcoin.
Yes.
And they pretended that it hadn't existed, and it was discovered. And then they discovered it on Bitcoin Talk. And they pre-mined 82%. So, I mean, you think SushiSwap is a scam. This was like, early 2014, like pre-mining 82% of the blockchain and pretending it had existed for like 3 years prior. These guys were really good scammers. But the technology was actually interesting. It was a fresh code base. It wasn't based on Bitcoin's code. It had a really compelling white paper that had actual maths behind it, which, unlike most ICOs or all ICOs. And then someone called Thankful for Today, who we believe was also part of the same group of scammers, basically created a fair launch of Bitcoin called BitMonero. And I started mining it early on because I was like, well, it's a fair launch of it, so it's interesting. And I'm in it for the profits, so I'm going to mine. And shortly after that, I think like three and a half weeks in, he wanted to make it merge mined with Bitcoin. He wanted to make BitMonero merge mined with Bitcoin. And the community, which is like 10 people at the time, was like, why would you make it merge mined with a scam? And he set it like, I know. So he set up this whole vote where we used the minor block version to vote for whether we wanted to be merge mined or not. But he made the default vote yes. So then we realized like this dude is just fishy. And after that whole thing fell apart and he lost the vote, then the minor vote, then he still went and was like, oh, well, I'm going to make it merge mined anyway. And that's when we knew that we needed to fork the code base. So we forked BitMonero into Monero, and the two code bases ran in parallel for a long time. I mean, they were compatible with each other for probably about a year and a half after that, until eventually you just couldn't sync with BitMonero's code base anymore.
Right. Okay. So, and then when did you start functioning as kind of the lead maintainer?
So pretty early on. I mean, once we forked BitMonero into Monero, there were 7 of us that were involved in that, and the challenge that we faced was we were all kind of doing our own thing. I mean, at the time I had these flat packable frames for GPU miners, and that was kind of my core focus. I was busy building a payment gateway on the side. I didn't really have time for anything else, and neither did the other guys, but guys or girls, I don't know. Some of them are still pseudonymous. But someone needed to take the reins. I mean, like, we didn't want the good tech to die. At the same time, we realized that if we didn't do anything, it was just going to be a scam project that would never amount to anything. And frankly, what else was there for Bitcoin privacy of any kind, or on-chain privacy of any kind in early 2014? There was a non-coin, which was not really focused on on-chain privacy. And there was Dogecoin, which at that point was, I mean, I don't even think it invented masternodes yet. And that was kind of it, right? So we realized that something had to be done, and I was willing to step up. And I'm gonna stop you because your audio is a bit garbled. It happens sometimes. I think the best way to fix it is for you to just, I mean, we don't care about Monero anyway. We
want to hear about Bitcoin. So the best way to fix it for you to just go away, and no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You can exit the room and come back, and it should be better.
All right.
And I'll try to make jokes while you're gone.
How do I exit the room? I'll go home.
Okay, I unmuted you because I don't have any jokes. So someone else can tell a joke.
Monero.
Fluffy Pony will probably be back soon, and if not, then we can talk about sushi, which is just great.
Monero is a good joke.
Put Charlie in front. I think he's into Monero.
It's only been 5 minutes, and you already
Right.
call like.
So Udi, only you get to play with boys?
Udi, you're right.
With boys.
What's the whole sushi thing? Somebody explain.
It's delicious.
There you go, there you go.
All right. Is that better?
Did you change, Fluffy?
Oh yeah. Okay.
And yeah, we can go on.
Yeah.
So-
basically, like I became lead maintainer because I was willing to step up. That's what it boils down to. The end.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So, and then why did you exit Scam?
So my exit scam is actually only coming up in 2023. You know, like,
okay.
I'm not the sushi swap guy. I'm a patient scammer.
Okay, that's good. So you just stopped doing the lead maintainer thing, right? But you didn't sell the top like Charlie.
No. So, so yeah, I stepped down as lead maintainer. I'm still a maintainer. I still, do things within the Monero project, but my I needed to hand things over to other people.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, okay, I also care about Bitcoin a little bit. So I want to ask you about your favorite Bitcoin privacy projects, if you have any.
Sure. I'm a huge fan of Wasabi. I mean, kidding. I'm a huge fan of Samurai. No, I jest. I like but in all seriousness, I do think that both of those projects are trying hard, but I feel more aligned with Samurai's values than with Wasabi's values. That's the best way to put it. I don't think it's a matter of I think both of them have honest goals. I know that there's a lot of mudslinging that goes on, but yeah, I'm definitely more of a Samurai person than a Wasabi wallet person.
Right. So, and that's it. Samurai.
Yeah.
Nothing
the
else.
stuff being done on Lightning is really exciting for me, but I think that actual stuff like Schnorr and what that leads to on Bitcoin is it's a whiles away from being
Right.
a serious contender. So at this point in time, the only thing that really strikes a chord with me on chain is Samurai. I think
Right.
Wasabi is doing good stuff too, and they're trying. But yeah, I sort of feel an affinity for Samurai. I think they've got the right attitude, the right approach, and they're going about it the right way.
Right.
And yeah, then I really like some of the stuff that's being done on Lightning. I have a strong sense that we shouldn't be overly focused with what happens on chain. I think that for most people's needs, off-chain privacy is going to have more value, which means Lightning ultimately, not Liquid. Sorry, Samson.
It's okay. Samson's not here. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, good.
I think he's not here. You never know. Altspace has very strong privacy too. Maybe he's watching on YouTube. Who knows?
Ooh.
Who knows? So okay. So you say samurai. Do you have like examples of when someone would want to actually use Bitcoin over Monero for certain privacy reasons? Like scenarios where it would be more beneficial for someone to use Bitcoin?
Yeah, there are several. So the first is where you need more liquidity than you can get from Monero,
Right.
and sort of secondly, but tangentially related to that, where availability of Monero in your country, and when I don't mean using Monero, but I mean buying Monero or selling Monero, where that's somehow difficult or restricted where you live, which can also be related to a liquidity thing. You might not have a problem buying or selling Monero where you live, but the local exchange might have terrible liquidity, and
Right.
that sort of constrains you, and so you end up using Bitcoin.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Sorry, I mean, just to sort of add to that, I think one of the reasons why Bitcoin still remains popular amongst scammers, amongst darknet markets, and amongst malware, ransomware in particular, is because of the ease of access and the liquidity.
Yeah.
And there's no way to change that. I mean, that's one of those things that I think it speaks to how prevalent and popular Bitcoin has become.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's this thing about people will often say that like, if you use Samurai or Wasabi or whatever coin join thing, then maybe your exchange will block you. And I mean, this is of course true for Monero too. If they can just block all. I mean, a lot do. We hear all the time about exchanges who delist Monero just won't list it. And do you think this will maybe change at some point? Do you think we'll see more acceptance of things like Monero and other privacy tech on regulated exchanges, or is that just a fight that we're not going to win?
That's a tough one. I hope that we will, but I think the reality is, if anything, the COVID-19 pandemic has given governments a taste of control, of sometimes almost absolute control, and I think that they will be hard pressed to let go of that. And privacy enhancing tools like Monero, like Tor, like Samurai, like Wasabi, all of those tools kind of go against what those regulators want, which is to control people. They don't want people to be in control of their own thing, because that just leads to terrible consequences, right? And you can sort of understand. The way I think of it is like anyone who has kids, even if you don't have kids, you can imagine that being a parent must be tough. And certainly as kids grow older and become more independent, parents struggle to give them freedom, and then they abuse it a little bit, and so they take that freedom away, and there's this constant tug of war. And you don't want the kid to go rogue, and so you're struggling with this idea of how much freedom do you give the child. And governments tend to treat citizens in the same way. Now, whether their treatment of citizens is right or wrong is a wholly different discussion, but I think that we can at least understand why the control becomes so appealing to them. It's because there's less hassles. Like, you don't have citizens going and doing crazy things when you have more control. But of course, the end state, the result of a nanny state like that is you end up with like South Korea, right, or Zimbabwe.
Right. Yeah.
North Korea,
well,
not South Korea.
North Korea. South Korea is great.
Sorry, South Koreans. I apologize.
You just had your map upside down, so it happens. Well, it's. I do agree with you. Although another kind of opposite influence from the COVID thing is that I know governments seem to be less focused right now on cryptocurrencies. They have like bigger problems.
Yep.
So like exchanges get away with more things than they used to. But yeah, I don't know how long that continues. Probably not very long.
Yeah. I don't. I just. At this point in time, I guess I'm feeling a little bit pessimistic about
Yeah.
about that situation moving forward. I just don't see them embracing privacy. I do have a lot of hope though for them embracing self-sovereignty. I think that there's, like bearer shares became a problem because you couldn't control bearer shares. You couldn't see what was happening with them. But maybe we end up with something that regulators are okay with. And when I say we, I don't, I mean the people in this room, and I hope the people watching this have enough cognizance to handle their own OPSEC that this doesn't strictly apply to them. But for the normies, for the ones that don't have good OPSEC, that go and write about what they own on Facebook and post pictures of all their stuff on Instagram, like maybe we end up with a scenario where it's okay to have things expressed as like self-sovereignty, like Bitcoin, and to have securities tokens and whatever, where the government
We'll
knows
get
you
there
own it,
to the securities tokens. We'll get there.
Okay.
Don't.
Go for it. Sorry for jumping ahead.
We'll get there.
Just checking my agenda. I didn't see that item. Oh, there
Good. No, that's why everyone's here. That's why people came here. They wanted to know about the security tokens, obviously to invest. So before we go there, I want to ask you about CipherTrade. There's this report this week from CipherTrade. Obviously, you've seen it. I, as a professional interviewer, I thought that the best way to approach this is for me to not even glance at it, so that I can let you completely scam me with your response. You can say whatever you want. So what is it, and why is it incorrect?
Sure. Okay. So CipherTrace put out a press release, and they're like, "Oh, we can trace Monero," and attached to that is they're fulfilling a contract that they got from the government and worth several $1,000,000, and so now they want to be paid more money. And they also said that this is somehow good for Monero. And when they were pressed on it, and they posted a screenshot on the Monero subreddit, and the CEO went on an interview on one of the Monero YouTube channels. When they were pressed on it, they acknowledged, and you can see this from the screenshot, that it's basically just a visual block explorer. They can't take the destinations of transaction outputs on Monero and decode the Monero address from it. They can make educated guesses based on data that they have from exchanges, withdrawal and deposit data, and so on. They can make some educated guesses, and then they say that those educated guesses have a 90% probability of being correct. And when pressed on the 90%, the CEO said, "Oh, well, that number's arbitrary." So it's yeah.
Okay.
Think of it as a visual block explorer that claims to have a 90% accuracy, but that's just an arbitrary number that they stuck out of it. And that's
okay.
I mean, like, in fairness, if it helps regulators be comfortable with Monero, like, and they get millions of dollars for it, well, okay.
Sure, that's true. Well, can you do like a bounty? Because usually bad privacy shitcoins do a bounty. They say, "Oh, I sent a transaction and find it."
So that's actually interesting. The Monero approach is we're kind of a little bit self-denigrating and introspective. So we have things there's a post on the Monero subreddit every Sunday called Skepticism Sundays, where people complain about how terrible Monero is, how useless it is, and how it's going to fail. There's also a series of YouTube videos which are pretty good called Breaking Monero, which
Mhm.
really digs into a lot of the technical stuff about how Monero is broken and is going to fail. And the Monero Research Lab also regularly talks about how Monero is broken and is going to fail. So, you know, if you if you want to know why Monero is horribly broken and is going to fail, you need look no further than the Monero community. You don't need some other company telling you that.
That's great. That's great. Well, you can ask people in the Bitcoin community too, and they will also
Yeah.
tell you that Monero is terrible and is going to fail. So
Exactly. We have all these supporters. It's great.
true, true. So you know, I think this is a great time to talk about Ethereum a little bit. So when is Monero migrating to Ethereum? Because Ethereum is very cool now. And
So you joke about that, but there was someone who came and posted on the Monero subreddit. They've actually created a like I can't remember what it was called, something Monero on Ethereum. And at first glance, I was like, oh, they're doing wrapped Monero. No, they're not doing wrapped Monero. They've just created a thing at ERC20 on Ethereum, and they've got privacy tech coming, and they're calling it Monero something. So scams
okay.
abound.
So basically, it's ERC20, nothing else.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
But with you know, oh, but privacy's coming, and it's
Future
apparently
privacy.
better than Monero. Yeah.
Does it have ZK snarks? Because that's better than Monero.
Wow. Cut me deep, Rudy. You cut me deep. ZK snacks, maybe.
Oh, you know that the Zcash has this new thing now. What they call it, Halo 2.
Halo 2.
It's like
yeah.
Halo, but it's Halo 2. And
Yeah,
they say
like the
they
game.
say that they exactly, and they say they expect that it would let them get rid of the trusted setup. So that will take away like one of your main points of trolling. Do you have anything to replace that with?
I mean, you know, that's not Zcash's only problem. Yeah. Like, it's one of the many, but it's not the only one. So there will be lots to troll about in future. You know, I mean, that's like saying that you know, Brave fixed that problem where they were sending people to Binance with ref links. Does that take away your trolling of Brave? No, it doesn't, because Brave's going to do something stupid in 2 days' time. If they haven't done something stupid today, wait a week. They will.
That's a good point. Why does everyone on this meetup hate Brave? We had one Brave user here, and he left because he kept getting shit. He kept getting shit. It's not easy to be the one Brave user.
I don't hate Brave the browser. I hate all the stuff that they're doing around it. You know, it's like a well-intentioned DeFi scammer.
Oh yeah, it's a scammer who doesn't know he's a scammer yet. Although you would have expected them to find it out. It's been like 3 years, so at some point you're supposed to realize it.
I guess if you're the guy that invented JavaScript, you're probably a little slow out the gate.
Come on, everything runs on JavaScript. Can you give the guy a bit of credit? Everything in the world runs on JavaScript now.
Even Ethereum runs on JavaScript.
True. That's actually pretty true. You can't do anything on Ethereum without JavaScript unless you're.
I've tried.
Yes, unless you're really doing like hardcore stuff. I guess you could.
You have to run your own node first, and that's really where it falls apart.
Yeah, that's where people give up usually. So back to Ethereum. Do you think that Ethereum is a scam? Because some of your magical crypto friends say that it's a scam. I wanted to be sure about your position on that.
So yeah, I think again, let's take if you take it back to like Vitalik's virtual mining, virtual quantum mining stuff. It's the same, right? I mean, he's naive, and maybe he even believed that was possible, but ultimately, if he'd gone through with it and raised a bunch of money, it would have been a scam. And so that's kind of what we're seeing with Ethereum too. It doesn't mean people aren't making money with it. It doesn't mean that they aren't well-intentioned people, but it was built out of naivety and, frankly, I think disrespect for Bitcoin. And when I say that, what I mean is, if you take a look at the design ethos that went into Ethereum versus the design ethos that went into Monero, and bearing in mind, Monero was built by actual scammers.
Yes.
Legit scammers. Actual criminals.
I'm really
built Monero.
disappointed that you bring it up because I wanted to bring it up as a gotcha when you're done. And now you kind of disarmed this. But yeah, go on.
So I mean, like, you look at the design ethos, and you read the CryptoNode white paper, and it's like, okay, Bitcoin does so much stuff that's really good. There's a couple of things like the privacy thing that we think we can improve, and we think we can maybe have a dynamic block size limit, and maybe an anti-ASIC proof of work. But otherwise, everything else conceptually that Bitcoin does is amazing. If you look at Ethereum, they're like, well, no, we can't even have UTXOs. We must have an account-based system. We don't have an actual reason. It's just that Bitcoin does it differently, and we can't do it the Bitcoin way, because that might be acknowledging that Bitcoin actually makes sense.
Yeah, they did go pretty long way to change everything.
Yeah, and
like absolutely everything.
That sort of not invented type of thinking, I find very frustrating, because, like, Bitcoin at this point, I mean, at that point in time it hadn't been, but right now Bitcoin's been around for over a decade. It's survived over a decade. If you can't look at that and acknowledge it as maybe being good from a design and architectural perspective, then what are you thinking? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel?
Well, the problem is, if you're saying that Bitcoin is good in architectural sense because it survived, then you have to say that Litecoin is also good. And I'm not sure I'm okay with that.
See, Charlie?
Okay.
Udi's going to start pumping Litecoin next. I mean, he's clearly giving up on Tron.
I've done very well with Tron, I think. So whoever wants me to pump their shitcoin next, my DMs are open, but it's not cheap. It's not cheap. Just letting you guys know. Like, come on. A few months ago, who would have even considered talking about Tron at all? Like, even mentioning it. Now it's a super shitcoin.
Well, I mean, I have to give Justin Sun credit.
Yes.
He is a master marketer. Really, he did marketing in a way that the EOS guys should have with their $4 billion.
True. Sometimes it looks like he's doing it alone, right? He's just shit posting. Yeah. Okay. So, but you mentioned some inconveniences about Ethereum, but that's make a scam. You can say you don't like it, but
so So the things that I think make it an actual scam, I think that the ICO was handled in a way that unfairly benefited people, and I say that with extreme delicacy because as an investor in early stage startups, of course you want to get rewarded, but the problem was that and this is really where the issue comes into it, the emission curve wasn't set. The emission curve was like,
right,
we don't know, it's going to be infinite, and then it's going to be less, and then it's going to be more. And so there was never really a sense of how the early ICO investors would benefit financially. And there was a total misalignment of incentives because they benefited so extremely, like it was insane how much they benefited, that latecomers hardly have a chance. Because that,
but who's being scammed there?
Not set in stone.
I mean, when the Ethereum ICO was going on, people were saying that the ICO itself is scammy. Obviously, the ICO investors weren't scammed; they got huge returns.
Yeah.
So you can't say they were scammed. So back then, people said the ICO is a scam. It's been 5 years now. Obviously, this wasn't a scam; it was an incredibly good investment. So now we're saying what, that the other people who came later were scammed? Is that the?
So I think, yeah. I mean, look. I tend to throw the word scam around a lot. Okay, so maybe and I'm open about that. But I also say that I'm a scammer, so I'm allowed to say that, right?
Of course.
I think that a core part of Ethereum was created in a dishonest way.
Okay. Okay.
So whether you term that as a scam,
But
or
also
not,
Monero was created in a dishonest way.
totally.
Okay.
Which is why I tell people not to buy Monero.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
which Ethereum person have you ever heard tell people not to buy Ethereum?
None. Okay.
So it's they are.
So is that
dishonest
it?
about its limitations.
So if
Well,
Vitalik
it's
starts saying don't buy Ethereum, then it stops being a scam.
No, it's not the only
No.
thing, right? So think about this: they're dishonest about its limitations. So you saw that interview where was it Vitalik and Joseph or whoever it was that went on and they said, "Oh yeah, we knew it wasn't scalable. We knew it wasn't going to scale."
Right.
But
Yes.
they never told anyone at the time, guys, this is a V1, it's not going to scale, we're going to have to do something else. But they knew. So either
Well,
he's
they
lying
said they were
now-
talking about sharding since day one, and they said that they will do it at some point. They did say that.
Yeah, but I mean, like they were dishonest about how
How
bad
important
the
it is.
scaling situation
Yeah.
was.
Yes, I guess. Yeah.
So let me give you another view of history that maybe provides some my personal insight into it. So I got access to the Zcash GitHub repo. I was invited and given access to it before it launched, before it was public, when it was still private.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about before testnet. And
Oh, so
I
this
was
is where
really
the
impressed.
inflation bug came from, right?
The fairy gold attack, yes, was then.
Okay.
But I was given access to it and by Zuko, and I was really impressed by the level of effort that was going into it, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool thing that they're trying to do. It's a
Mhm.
cool experiment. Then they launched mainnet, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool experiment. You know, this is a great experiment. And then because of pressure from their investors, suddenly, whoops, let me go back there. Then because of wait, I'm stuck. Aha.
Good.
Then because
You
of
made it.
pressure from their investors, they launched mainnet like really soon, like really quickly after that, at
Mhm.
a time when it was, I think from an architectural and engineering perspective, it was not ready for launch.
Mhm.
And it's because of that misalignment of incentives, right? So I think something similar happened with Ethereum. If they knew that scalability was such a big issue, why didn't they just launch testnet and stay in testnet whilst they tried to figure out the sharding thing? Why go live? It's because of the misalignment of incentives. It's not because you're doing actual engineering. It's because you've got pressure from ICO people, from investors who are
Right.
like, oh, you better launch this or else.
Well, if Ethereum wouldn't have launched until today, then it would have been nothing. Like what?
Sure.
It would have missed the opportunity. But you know, okay, I'm with you. Ethereum is a scam. I'm convinced. I came into here thinking it's not a scam, but you convinced me it's a scam. So why did you launch
you.
INX on Ethereum?
So I didn't. I'm an investor in INX. I'm not a token holder. I'm not an
Okay, okay.
advisor.
Ah,
Okay,
this
so
is a boring answer. What a boring
I
answer!
know. I'm sorry, Udi. I gave them money. And I don't actually care what database they use. I mean,
Yeah.
I spoke to them about it, but I mean, it's like me saying, "Hey, guys, so Apache or Nginx, you know, we should have that conversation. Otherwise, I'm not investing."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I have to
Like,
tell you honestly, this whole thing is ridiculous because, like, I mean, look, imagine I hated Discord. There's Discord. Let's say I hate it, and let's say I go on Twitter all day long and say that I hate Discord and it's the worst chat platform in the universe. And then I invest in a company and they decide to use Discord for the community thing. So what now? I'm a scammer because because I invest in a company that uses Discord? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
But
like, I hope that
Yeah.
value will accrue to my equity. I don't know about the token. The token's not my baby. I own equity in the company, and my hope of profiting there is totally disconnected from the token.
Yeah. Well, okay. But why aren't you shilling it like Cloud did on Twitter? I didn't see you shill it.
I did. I retweeted some stuff.
Oh, you did?
And I did. Yeah, I retweeted some of the interviews. I thought that people might find it interesting. I did. We spoke about it in the latest Magical Crypto Friends episode.
Mhm.
And I did tweet and say that my advice for the INX token is the same as my advice for Monero. Don't buy it unless you have a specific reason to.
Okay. Okay, that's a very nice. I mean, that's like an advice. That's a non-advice, honestly. I would say you shouldn't buy anything if you don't have a reason to. That's it makes you sound very nice, but really, it's you didn't say anything.
Thank you.
So it's good. So it's good. It's good. I like you, PR guy, whoever it is, the smart guy. So why does INX even need a token, though?
So that's a good question. I don't think they need a token, but I think they found a way to use a token that has not previously been done in a regulated way. It's the SEC hasn't approved a security token on that level until now. They've approved certain things around securities tokens, but they have not approved a regulated IPO using a security token until INX.
True. So.
No, well, they're trying to do. That's the novel thing. The novel thing is it's an SEC-approved IPO using a token instead of using equity.
I guess, but why is that? I mean, how is that materially different than just issuing a security the old way? Other than, okay, I can open my MetaMask wallet or whatever and see it there. Is there any other difference?
I think that the ability to build products around that token in a permissionless way is interesting. I mean, if you had to build products around equity, around IPO equity in particular, that is extremely gated. And with this, it's a lot less, right? I mean, you can interact with the.
Isn't it like whitelisted and you have to whitelist addresses and so on?
But what I mean is you can build stuff around that in a permissionless way. Building stuff around interacting with the New York Stock Exchange and interacting with people who own shares there is like you're actually anything you build there, you're so abstracted away from the actual stock exchange.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's different. And yeah,
Google Sheets has a great API.
I think Google Sheets is an excellent idea. And in fact, I did recommend Google Sheets to them for this. And they were sort of leaning more towards Microsoft SQL Server. And
right.
I was like, maybe that's over-engineered.
Right. Maybe Notepad++. Some people like it.
Notepad++, yeah. Just like a text document of like name and the amount of tokens you own.
Yeah. Because honestly,
and then
how many you're like 7 investors so far. I don't think you need all of the over engineering for that. Just a small list.
Sure, and
maybe pen and paper would work.
You DM Alan anytime you need to change anything. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't pitch it to the SEC like that.
Alan chain. Just call it a blockchain and then it's fine. Just call it a blockchain. You know this. You did that before. You should know that. Okay. I'm moving on from the INX thing. Hopefully we'll get some audience questions about INX later because honestly I think it's the funniest thing ever. But I'm moving on. Okay. So Monero currently, the problem with Monero, in my opinion, like the real problem with Monero is that it's not generating yield. So when are you gonna fix that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess we should have wrapped Monero on SushiSwap.
Yes.
Yeah, and then look, I mean, the bottom line is I don't get out of bed for less than 100,000% APY, and that's engineering that is where the DeFi challenge comes in.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. You need more than 100,000 APY. That's really true.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I mean, in fact, 1,000,000% APY.
Like have some
would
self-respect.
be ideal. Right, exactly.
Better. Yes.
Exactly.
Don't chase like, I don't know, single double-digit percentage gains like a
Yeah,
moron.
these
That's
these
insulting.
100% APY projects, double your money in a year. What is this? Traditional finance. Ridiculous.
No, but really, what are your thoughts on the DeFi thing? Because it kind of blew up, and I know I'm seeing you. I know that you're there, you're in there, you're looking at things. You're not, you're not one of those who are staying aside. I know you're there.
Udi,
So, what are your thoughts? Come on.
you know
Let's be
my
honest.
guiding principle. My guiding principle is always
Yes.
buy $100 of every scam.
Okay. Every scam.
So, well,
I just need to
obviously
issue like 1 million scams, and I'm gonna have $100 million.
there's some scams that you don't buy because they're just, there's not enough liquidity to even.
No.
I mean, I didn't buy Tron. I'm sorry to admit that.
I'm sorry for you, man.
Didn't buy Tron.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think the DeFi stuff. Okay, so I think, again, as with Ethereum, I think there are people that are genuinely and legitimately trying to build good actual products on DeFi platforms. And yeah, there's certainly something magical about using a DEX, just like using Counterparty's DEX years ago was magical. Uniswap is no less magical, no more magical than Counterparty's DEX. The interface is prettier, but beyond that, I think the basic issue here is the people that are that are your users of DeFi products are there to make money. Like daily active users is the wrong number. It should actually be like daily active scammers or daily active investors or something. Like they're not users. They're not actual users. They're not using your DeFi product. They're trying to get rich from your DeFi product. They saw your YFI go to $30,000, and so now they think something else that starts with the letter Y might go to $30,000. It's the same people that buy Ripple thinking it'll go to Bitcoin's price. It's like you're seeing the same thing happen over and over and over again. It's just scammers scamming scammers all the way down, and that doesn't change the fact that there are people genuinely trying to build good things, that there are good engineers trying to build good products, stable products, solid products, reliable products, but they're building it on, it's a house of cards built on a foundation of sand. So they've got that problem, and you see that manifest in several ways. The first is you see it manifest when smart contracts get hacked, even though they've been audited. The second thing is you see this weird interactivity between DeFi products. Okay, so you just take this thing and you deposit it there, and then you stake it, and then you get this other token. Then you take that token and you use it as collateral to borrow more of this thing, which you deposit, and you stake that. And I mean, it's just like that whole weird interaction is so unknown and unknowable that people are like these projects are just bound to either eat themselves or fail because it's just not structurally sound.
Yeah, it's very highly leveraged, right? And everything can fall apart in days,
Totally,
or less.
And that's not to say that we won't see DeFi continue running for another 12 months, 24 months.
True.
I mean, let's face it.
Who knows?
There's still people that are launching ICOs in 2020, even though they went out of fashion in like 2018.
Yeah, we just talked about one ICO
exactly
a minute ago. Yeah, it's true. People still do it. I mean, I don't know. You think we might be at the start of a new bull run, or is this if boys scamming each other? Are we going to see new people coming in, or is it only the corn scammers? Don't know. You didn't decide yet.
So I'm a terrible trader, and as a result, I don't make comments on price. I have no idea for a bull market.
I mean,
I
it's
don't
for
know.
the technology.
I don't know if we're in a bull run. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe.
You know, I mean, I don't
That's
think I don't think Ethereum has 1 million devs, and I don't think that the DeFi stuff is going to bring new devs into their non 1 million devs.
I love the 1 million devs meme. It's amazing.
I mean,
It's the nice
I don't
thing
think-
about it is that it started from 2000, which is maybe have. And I mean, if they had 200,000 devs, then they have more devs than users.
exactly.
How bad is that? And you want 1 million? Why? maybe maybe focus on users first. I don't know.
Yeah, get 1 million users, and then you can talk about devs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they gave up on that, but it was fun for a couple of days. So look, I'm gonna in a moment. I'm gonna open it for questions from the audience. But before that, I know that you and your scammer friends for Magical Crypto Friends are doing some VR conference. You want to tell us about that? I'm sure it's not as good as this, but you.
Oh
you
no!
know.
I mean, you know, Udi, what a wonderful experience you've created. All the engineering that has gone into this. Thank you. I appreciate it. This table over here. This table
the table
so
is
real.
amazing.
It is, and
The
this
table
couch,
is amazing.
So lovely.
We have people
And my hair.
clapping. That was very your hair. Yeah, you look like a lesbian. I told you that before. I meant that in the best way possible.
I look like
the best
I
way
look like
possible.
you know, this is like my Back to the Future outfit.
Oh, you think you're a Marty person? Yes,
I'm
see.
like Marty McFly.
You're the lesbian Marty McFly.
We're in a VR conference. How can I not be Back to the Future?
True.
But yeah, so we're doing Magical Crypto Conference VR this year because obviously the pandemic made it an actual physical one earlier this year impossible. It's coming up soon, and we're trying to make it a engaging and enjoyable experience in VR. Where we go to from there, I don't know. I mean, clearly the VR stuff has some appeal going forward. I'd certainly like to see more VR things happening. It's, you know, I think it's easier from a travel and so on perspective. And of course, I'm certainly miss seeing people in person, but the VR stuff is fun, and I think that there are a lot of people that benefit from the ability to attend pseudonymously or at least more privately. So yeah, I'd like to. I'm excited about MCC VR. I hope everyone will attend, and you know, it's going to be fun. We're going to try it out. There's going to be teething problems, no doubt. Samson is going to lose his mind because everything won't be perfect, but we'll do our best.
That sounds good. That sounds good. When is it? What's the date? We don't know. You don't even know the date.
It's coming up now. It's coming up soon, in several weeks.
So
Go look it up on the Twitters.
I'm gonna say 2 weeks.
TM.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna open this questions from the audience. Rules and bring on the right bottom corner. One thing that I didn't ask why is wasabi over samurai. That's what you said, right? That you prefer wasabi?
Only on my sushi, but for privacy, you know.
Okay, so let's see. We have BTC Kitty. Go ahead.
Hi. So I noticed you mentioned something about ASIC resistance, and I remember when Bitmain came out with the Monero ASIC, and then quickly Monero hard forked and basically made those ASICs obsolete. And it seems to me like rather than incentivizing businesses to invest capital into securing the blockchain, it's basically incentivizing people to own giant scammy botnets to mine Monero. So can you speak to that?
Sure. So that's a great question. I mean, a great way to look at it. I think that at the end of the day, the ASIC resistance stuff I think was a solid experiment. I do agree that it does incentivize botnets. All the research that we've seen thus far says that botnets make up, a couple of % of the network. So it's not there's just not enough computing power on like IoT devices and hacked servers to make an impact compared to professional miners. That said, with the most recent change last year to the switch to RandomX as the proof of work mining algorithm, I was against that. I was very vocal about that. I did say that I felt that even though the actual switch to RandomX wasn't terrible, that we should adopt SHA-3 and commit to some timeline. Like, okay, we're going to do RandomX for 2 years, and then SHA-3 activates. Ultimately, the community chose to go a different way. But yeah, my personal feeling is that ASIC resistance is a very hard moving target. I don't know if RandomX is the solution. I don't know if the incentives are aligned. I do know that mining farms like the fact that they can run GPU miners to mine whatever, Ethereum or whatever, and they can run CPUs to mine Monero on the same box. And I know that individuals like the fact that they can mine Monero using their computers. So, I think the status quo is what it is. I might not like it or personally agree with the way things have played out, but the community have their reasons for going down that road. I'm interested to see where things go in future, and as and when RandomX either gets gamed or someone comes out with some sort of way of improving their mining performance significantly, I'm interested to see what happens next.
Okay, thanks. And let's move on to Oscar. Go ahead.
Hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So this ZK blank stuff, zero knowledge,
Hmm.
seen snacks, start.
Can you hear him, Fluffy?
Whatever it is.
It's a little bit scratchy though.
Is it garbled?
Okay, I think it's better now.
Okay. Yeah. So this ZK stuff, ZK blanks, Stark snacks, zero knowledge,
Yeah.
proof, zero knowledge. Like I haven't dived into it, but I have a sense that maybe there's some kind of actual cryptography going on in there, but I don't know. Can you shed any light on, what is this approach and why are so many people saying ZK tech is unique and it's going to work out? Like, is there something fundamental there that makes
Sure.
sense, or that, is that a different
Yeah.
approach from Monero, or is there any kind of zero knowledge stuff? I don't know, because I understand
Yeah.
private keys, public keys, there's a level of that. Like, is that taking that idea and pushing it in some kind of direction? I don't know if you can explain that a little bit.
Sure. So effectively, and I mean, like, I always struggle to explain this in as layman's terms as possible, but the idea behind a zero knowledge proof is it's a proof of a thing, right? So here's the actual fact: the sky is blue, and here's the proof of the sky is blue, and a miner or anyone can validate that proof without knowing what's contained within it, without knowing what fact it's trying to prove. But it can validate it, and that's really special and unique. Now, zero knowledge proofs are not unique to Zcash or to something that starts with ZK. Monero uses zero knowledge proofs. It just doesn't use it in a buzzwordy way. And the trick that Zcash has is ZK Snarks, which is an application of zero knowledge proofs. There's a zero knowledge circuit in there. And that's a totally different, special, and unique snowflake to just a zero knowledge proof. So as an example of something that happens in Monero with confidential transactions and the way it's done with Ring confidential transactions, you don't actually see amounts on Monero transactions or on the blockchain, but you can prove that no new money was created out of thin air. and you don't need to know the actual amounts to be able to do that. And so that's, there's a proof without the knowledge, right? And that's an application of a zero knowledge proof. So there's lots of applications of zero knowledge proofs, and I mean, like famously, Greg Maxwell wrote up a way to do zero knowledge swaps, zero knowledge contingent payments, and all sorts of other interesting things like that, that have nothing to do with Zcash or with ZK snarks and ZK stocks and ZK all sorts of other things. So if you separate the buzzwordiness from like the actual cryptography, yes, there's really cool cryptography there, and there's really cool applications of zero knowledge proofs. But yeah, it's become buzzwordy, right? I mean, there's ZK rollups in Ethereum, and like apparently you just put ZK at the beginning of something, and VCs throw money at it. But I think it's, I think that there's, the big issue with the cryptography in ZK snarks originally, especially, is there's lots of moon math. It's not very well understood. It wasn't very well understood at the time. It has become better. More mathematicians and cryptographers are starting to understand it. Stuff like ZK stocks is less moon mathy and easier to grok, but it just requires commodity. It doesn't really work on commodity hardware. You need to have specialized hardware like an ASIC for it, because the requirements are so intense. But yeah, there's scope for stuff like that in the future, not just for Monero, but for Bitcoin and so on. So certainly cryptographers and mathematicians are taking it seriously.
Great. Okay, thanks. And we have another question from MZ. MZ, go ahead.
So, yeah, this is like a Bitcoin meetup, so I have a critical Monero question. Do you think it's a problem that that you have mandatory forks or mandatory software updates all the time? Doesn't do it. Doesn't get Monero re-centralized that way. What's your?
Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, software updates are software updates, right? And we can talk about hard forks versus soft forks till the cows come home, but I think practically, I don't know how much of a difference it makes to the decentralization of the thing. I mean, like, the process of deciding what goes into that software update on Monero is not too dissimilar from the process of deciding what goes into a Bitcoin release. There's loose consensus, broad consensus, and loose consensus. There's tremendous amounts of discussion and so on. And of course, Monero does move faster than Bitcoin, but frankly, it does not move particularly fast. It's still slow as molasses. The big difference between Bitcoin's approach and Monero's approach is, we're talking about this specifically and the need for it is, Bitcoin's primary focus is the security of the economic system. Monero's primary focus is the privacy of the economic system. The security of the economic system, of Bitcoin's economic system, doesn't require frequent updates, but Monero's privacy does. And unfortunately, those updates cannot be done as some of them can be done as a soft fork, but practically speaking, they can't. Like the big ones, like going from like introducing ring CT. I mean, there was such a fundamental change to the transaction format that there was just no way it could have been done as a soft fork. And the other issue, of course, related to that, tangentially related to that, is if you found a way of doing it as a soft fork, you're going to face the challenge of people still being stuck and transacting with the old way, which puts other users at risk because the old way is broken. And, we've got papers pointing out that the old way is broken now, but we knew that fundamentally and instinctively at the time, intuitively. So I think that it's two different approaches, and I like both of them for different reasons. I like Bitcoin's approach because I think it is necessary to protect the security of the economic system, and I like Monero's because it means that the privacy stuff is always upgraded, and it's always the best that we can do at the time, the best that the Monero Research Lab and the community and the developers can do at the time. So it's a trade-offs thing, right? And that's really what it comes down to, is Monero has chosen slightly different trade-offs there than Bitcoin. Whether those trade-offs are good or bad, I mean,
bad.
You need the remind me bot to hit us up in 10 years, and then we can have this discussion again. I mean, at this point in time, Monero is not widely used enough to for it to be a bad thing.
Right.
Thanks for the answer.
Okay, that's it for questions from the audience. So, well, I'm gonna wrap it up. So thanks, Riccardo, for joining us. Also, thank you for inventing Zcash. I use it every day. Really great innovation. So really, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, I wish you a lot of success with your VR conference. I think that the more VR things, the better. I hope you don't shill too many shitcoins, and if you do, that it's gonna be Tron, ideally. Just
thank you for setting really setting the path on fire with regards to VR, because I don't think we would have the confidence to do a VR conference if we hadn't seen the success of Reckless VR. So I appreciate everything you do.
That's awesome. Thank you. So, well, also thank you for setting the path of shilling shitcoins while being Bitcoin friendly. This is how I became a Tron shill. So thanks for that. No, because we're trying to say nice things. Okay. Also, I want to thank Andrew for helping with moderating today. And I'm going to tell you guys that next week, I don't want to tell you what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be a debate. It's going to be a good debate. The only thing you should know is it's going to start 2 hours earlier. So that's 9 a.m. Pacific. That's noon Eastern, or 4 p.m. UTC. So just so you know, I know it's a bit early for the Western folks, but it's going to be such a good debate that you're going to want to wake up and eat sushi on the morning while watching it. Yes. Just saying. And if you want to get notified for that, then you can join on recklessvr.com or follow us on reckless_VR on Twitter. And there's the Reckless VR Telegram group, and you'll get all the details you need for the next week meetup. And as usual, after this, we're going to do a VR chat after party. Unfortunately, I'm really short on time today, so I won't be able to make it myself. But I hope as many of you can go. And to join, just join with MZBTC. Who's running around with? Who's that? Is that Johnny? Johnny, you're wasting all your time on Ethereum, and you have criticism for me. I mean, come on. You know it's true. Okay, fine, whatever. So, so yeah, if you want to join that, I'm gonna send the instructions on Telegram, but also just look for MZBTC on VRChat and join there. And yes, I'm gonna stop the stream. I'm gonna let you guys speak. See you next time, and don't forget to shield Tron. And yes, that's it. You have voice.
Bye.